Hello, my name is Michael Gabbianelli, and welcome to another episode of Tech Talk Tuesdays. In today's episode, we are going to be covering trekking poles. So a trekking pole is a pole that we would use when we are hiking. And we're going to kind of go into a couple of different styles of trekking poles, some of the different parts of the trekking poles, and some good pros and cons of what we do with trekking poles. So, trekking poles, again, are a hiking pole. Very similar to a ski pole. And actually, they can be used, certain kinds of trekking poles can also be used for ski poles. So that really just kind of depends on the strength of that pole. As you can tell, this pole is pretty short, and that's because most trekking poles will come to be collapsible. So this is actually a 3-part trekking pole, which makes it collapse even smaller, but they do come in a 2-part pole, which is a little bit stronger, but doesn't collapse down as small. And so depending on kind of what you got going on and what you're using your trekking pole, you might want to choose the appropriate style for you. So either a 3-part or a 2-part. I only have 3-part ones. I tend to like those more because I like that I can break them down really small and use them in a lot of different ways, and also kind of store them in my backpack if I'm not using them. And again, trekking poles are a great tool, and the reason that they're really great is while you're hiking, they give you another added piece to help you balance and to take some strain off of your body. So especially when you're going downhill with a big heavy pack on your back, if you're backpacking, you have a pair of these in your hands. It's really going to make a difference because this will help offset some of the strain that your knees are feeling as you go downhill. So trekking poles are a great tool to help with that. A lot of times, a lot of lightweight shelters can actually be put up using your trekking pole. So if you're doing something like backpacking where weight is important, you won't need to carry a tent pole if you have a appropriate tent that runs with these with trekking poles, because then you're using your trekking poles as you're walking. When you get to camp, you set up your tent with your trekking pole, which is pretty cool. Cool. So this is one style of trekking pole against a 3-part. Trekking poles all have their main pieces. They're all pretty much the same. You can have your handle. You're gonna have your tether, which goes around your wrist and helps kind of keep that on your keep that trekking pole on your hand, as well as helps displace some of the strain as you're hiking. You're going to have your adjustments or your shaft, and then you have 3 shafts or 2 shafts, right, or 1 shaft, depending on what kind of trekking pole you have. Again, some poles can be just one solid pole even. Oftentimes, though, trekking poles will be collapsible like this one. So you have 3 sections, and then you have what we call a basket. These can be different sizes depending on their use. This is a trail basket, meaning it's a small basket meant for like dirt, and when we go hiking and using these in the woods, on solid surface. If you're comparing this to like a ski pole, the ski pole's basket's going to be much bigger because it's on snow, and so we actually have another trekking pole here with a snow basket. Those baskets oftentimes are exchangeable, so if you have one set of poles, you can exchange the baskets depending on the season that you're in. Lastly, you have your tip. And most tips you can see here are carbide tipped, which is a very hard metal that just helps you grab onto rocks and dirt when you're hiking, or ice or anything like that. So there you go. We got our handle, we got our tether, we got our shaft, our adjustment points, our basket, and our point. And all trekking poles should have that. Again, like we were saying, there are different styles of these poles, and collapsible and non-collapsible are kind of your 2 main styles. So collapsible means it will break down to be small like this one. And non-collapsible is like a standard ski pole where it's just one big pole that'll always be that size. So let's get into the collapsing nature of these poles. This is one style, and this is called a screw lock collapsible pole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen this section of the pole. and spread it out. You'll see oftentimes they'll have measurement markers on there, so you know what level you have adjusted your pole to. Once you find the level that's good for you, you're just going to tighten that section down again, and that's going to lock it in place, making it a trekking pole. What's really cool about these is that they have a very low profile. So this trekking pole, when it's screwed into position, has a really nice low profile and feels almost like a sleek pole. It can be tricky, however, with these, is if you loosen them too much, then you can't retighten them, and so you have to kind of tinker with them to get them to work. They also can seize sometimes, meaning they just get stuck in that position, and they're really hard to loosen. So Twistlock, really great, great system. However, there are some limitations to that Twistlock. One other thing that you'll find with the Twistlocks that are pretty nice is that you might be able to get a anti-shock function out of it. So this is an anti-shock, meaning there's a little absorber in here. So, and you'll find that a lot of times on the Twistlocks. Very cool. So that's our Twistlock hiking pole, trekking pole. Here we go. We have another trekking pole, and this one's a different company. I have a snow basket on this one because I technically, or more often, use this one in the winter time and this one in the summertime. However, I can exchange, again, this basket for that smaller basket and use this same pole if I would prefer. And this is what we call a Fliplock. So all I do is flip this latch forward, and I can scoot that pole out to wherever I want it, again with my markers, and lock that pole into place. What's really nice about these is they're really easy to adjust. Really, like, flip, clip, and I'm adjusted. With our screw lock, it might take a little bit of time, some tinkering to get that screw to adjust, and can be tricky sometimes because, again, if you over loosen it or over tighten it, you can have problems on either side. Another thing that's great about these is it's easier to do with a set of gloves on, and so this is why I like to use this one in the wintertime, because I can manipulate this latch with my gloves. Something that is somewhat can be tricky, however, is that Fliplock is maintained by this screw on the back side of that same lock, so you have to adjust the screw tension so that Fliplock will work. If that screw gets loosened out in the backcountry or where you don't have a screwdriver, it might be pretty tough to service your pole. And so you do need tools like a screwdriver to maintain or service this pole if you needed to. While on this one, it's a little bit more able to do everything with your hands. And so no specialized tools required to adjust this one if it needs to be adjusted. Great. And again, this is a tri-poles, right? So I can adjust both sections, and both sections will have those measurements on them to help me adjust to the right level or the same level on either side. You might also notice that this grip is slightly different. Again, these are all stylistic choices, slightly different. This one's got an extended grip, so if instead of adjusting my pole, I can adjust my grip if I need to, depending on the conditions. Great. So yeah, that's trekking poles. Really awesome tool to use out there in the woods when you're hiking, especially with a really big pack. They really help offset some of the strain that your body's going to feel, as well as give you some stability and balance on the trail. So hopefully you guys learned some about trekking poles today, and we'll see you guys next week for another Tech Talk Tuesday.